Hi everyone, Vanessa here from Love Riley. Welcome back. Today we're going to be sewing up the Pomme. This is from the Bag Goddess, and just look at this bag. It is adorable. I love it. This is the second of her bags that I've tested. The other one did have a bow as well. It was the gift shoulder bag. This one is just as cute, a little bit bigger, but the bow is absolutely the showstopper of this bag. I love the shape of it, and the bow is just everything. The bow does get glued into the bag. I have seen another tester go ahead and put a magnetic snap on this. Therefore, if you made just say a black bag, you could interchange your bows. Absolutely amazing idea. This is the base of the bag. Love the way that this was done. This is the back of the bag. You could add a zipper pocket here. I actually went ahead and chose to use strap ends on the bag. That was not in the pattern, that was something that I added. Instead of rivets, I used Chicago screws. You use these bridge connectors. First time I ever used those, they were so easy to install. Instead of putting them lengthways on the bag, I chose to put it across my seam, and I didn't compromise any of the stitching because the holes were on either side of that seam. But isn't she gorgeous? I did use strap ends as well. On this side you wouldn't have to because the bow does cover it if you wanted to save on hardware. So let's have a look at this beautiful bag. We've got our top zipper here, finished off with a zipper end, and then it opens up. It has got a lot of room for a smaller bag. On the back we have a slip pocket, lots of room in there. On this side of the bag we have a beautiful little zipper pocket with an overlay. I chose to add the overlay. Again, a lot of room. I love the way that this was assembled. I did have some problems with this bag. The only problem that I had was this top band here. So essentially what you do is you sew it all together, you put your zip down as per the pattern, and then you use this top binding to finish off the bag. Since we have given the feedback, I believe that the designer has gone ahead and changed the way that this bag is finished. I believe the zipper gets placed lower and this band is longer. With the way that it is at the moment, when I came to sew it onto the top of the bag, mine kept shifting and I had to come in quite a few times and restitch it. On the top of this band, it's actually only meant to have an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, but I actually had to go ahead and do a 1/4 of an inch as well. Again, it kept slipping off. It was quite frustrating, but again, I believe the pattern designer has gone ahead and fixed that. Another thing was with the band the way that it was, you can actually go ahead and see my basting stitches for the zipper. I don't like that, so I'm really glad that she's gone ahead and fixed that. You could alter this bag to have a recessed zipper panel. I think I am going to do that. I absolutely love the shape. So when it's open, before you close the zipper, it's sort of more of a box shape, which I really love. Then when you close the zipper, it cinches in that top and changes the look. Just like that. With the top band, I would suggest you go ahead and glue it down before you actually sew it onto your bag. I do love that it's a raw edge and then you just use this band at the top to finish the bag. I love the look of this bag, and I will make more. I don't know if I'll use the new instructions with the bigger band or if I'm just going to go ahead and work out how to do a recessed zipper panel. But either way, if I do it again, I will film it. I love the way that it fit together. It's absolutely fantastic. There's no droopy lining. Oh, just love it. All the materials that I use for this bag, I'll leave linked down below. So if you'd love to see me make the Pomme, then please keep watching. Thank you so much. Have an amazing day, and I'll catch you all very soon. Bye. Let's go over all the pattern pieces we need for this bag. This main vinyl here that I'm using, I got before A Passion for Vinyl closed down. If I can find one similar, I'll leave it below. We'll start with our exterior pieces. I have got 2 exterior main pattern vinyl. I've got Decaville Light. Out of the seam allowances as per the pattern, it will tell you exactly where to place this. So I've got 2 exteriors. I've got 2 lining pieces. This is a thick waterproof canvas that I got from Brimax. It is not stabilized, it's not interfaced with anything, so I've got 2 lining exterior pieces. These are my base pieces. This is a marine vinyl that I got from Brimax. I've gone ahead and added Decaville Heavy out of the seam allowances as per the pattern, and then I've transferred these marks here as per the pattern. It'll give you all the measurements. So I've got one exterior and one lining is my thick waterproof canvas. Again, all my lining is not interfaced and not stabilized. They're my base pieces. These are my handle pieces. As I said, I will be doing a double-sided handle. So I've got 4 exterior pieces, 2 pattern vinyl, 2 of my marine vinyl. I've gone ahead, I've marked my line down the center and added double-sided tape. I've not stabilized, I've not interfaced these pieces at all. I have just cut these to 1.5 inches wide each. So 4 of those. I have already gone ahead off camera and made my crossbody strap. It's exactly the same as my handles. It's double-sided and I used exactly the same measurements. So I cut both pieces 1.5 inches wide, folded it into the center and then overlaid these two. So that is my crossbody strap all ready to go. I'll leave a detailed video on how to do a crossbody strap. So that's ready to go. These are the pieces for our bow. I've got 2 tail pieces, not stabilized, not interfaced, 2 out of my solid colored marine vinyl. I've got 2 small bow panels. This is my pattern vinyl. 2 of these, none of these are interfaced, none of these are stabilized. So I've got 2 of those. These are my big bow panel pieces. 2 of these out of my solid vinyl, not interfaced, not stabilized, 2 of those. This here is my bow band, which is pattern piece K. I've got 2 of these, not stabilized, not interfaced, 2 of those. This here is my binding strip. I've got 1 out of my solid vinyl. I've marked my line down the center and added double-sided tape. This will go around the whole top of the bag. So I've got 1 long piece of that in my solid vinyl. This piece here is my binding strip. This is going to be for our slip pocket. I have changed this. I've made it wider and a little bit longer. I'll explain that in more detail when we come to that step. So I've actually cut this to 1 inches wide and, as I said, a little bit longer than the pattern piece. Not interfaced, not stabilized, so 1 slip pocket binding piece. I've got 2 slip pocket pieces out of my waterproof canvas, not interfaced, not stabilized, 2 of those. I've got 2 zipper pocket pieces out of my waterproof canvas, not interfaced, not stabilized. I decided to go ahead and cut an overlay from a template that I already had. You can just go ahead and add your box on one of your pattern pieces and do it like that, but I chose to add an overlay. Therefore, my zipper pocket. I've got my zippers ready to go. This is for my main exterior. This is for my zipper pocket. I have cut it a little bit longer than what it suggests in the pattern, just so I have room to move my zipper out of the way. I've got my 2 pieces of zipper tape ready to go. Hardware. I do have different choices in here. There is not a lot of hardware that we use on this bag. Depending on how I do the handles will depend if I use all of this hardware or not. We need 2 number 5 zipper pulls. I'm using this one here that I got from Zen. This one here is for my interior zipper pocket. So 2 zipper pulls. For my crossbody strap, I used a slide adjuster and 2 swivel clasps for my crossbody strap. You need 2 bridge connectors. These go on the side in order for you to connect your crossbody strap. So I've got 2 of these. These come with the washers and the screws. I got these from Temu. I'll leave these linked below. I've just got a handmade tag. I'm going to install this after I install my bow because I'm not sure yet where this gets placed or if we're going to use it. So I do have one of these. I don't have one in my Love Riley name in this gunmetal finish. I will get those soon. I've got 4 strap ends. These are in 3/4 inch. These are not in the pattern, but you can add them if you want to bling up your bag. And I've got 8 Chicago screws ready to go. I might need to use rivets. I'm not sure. I've got rivets if I need them, but I've also got Chicago screws. If you were wanting to reduce the amount of hardware to keep your costs down, all you would need are your 2 zipper pulls, your bridge connectors, your crossbody strap hardware if you wanted to add one of those, and rivets or Chicago screws. So there's not a lot of hardware on this bag. So let's get ready and sew this bag. We need to do this step first because I'm using glue and I need time for that to dry. You could use double-sided tape if you don't want to use glue. You could also edge coat this and you need to allow time for that to dry. You need all of your bow pieces. I'm going to start with my big bow pieces. Again, you could use double-sided tape or glue yours together like I'm doing with mine. I prefer to use glue, that way I know they're not going to shift when I stitch these two together. So I'm just going to place these wrong sides together. Next, we can clip these together and set them off to the side to dry. You need to do that with every single bow piece that you have. We're then going to sit these off to the side to dry. If you were using double-sided tape, you wouldn't have to worry about that. You could sew it straight away. Once these are all glued together, what we do is we go ahead and we sew around the outside 1/8 of an inch from the outside edge, so we're essentially doing a top stitch. It's up to you if you go ahead and edge coat these or just leave them as it is. As you can see, my vinyl's white on the underside, so you will see the white if I was to leave it as it is. I've already gone ahead and made one of these off camera, and that was because I wanted it to be able to dry in time so that I could continually do this video. I don't really like edge coating, so what I do is once this is dry, I take a Sharpie, either black or a Sharpie that's close to the colour of the vinyl that I'm using, and I colour in all of my edges with a Sharpie. Then what I do is I go ahead with some Mod Podge that I got from Bunnings, and I use that and I seal the Sharpie that I've used, so I just brush that on. And in my opinion, it gives exactly the same finish as it does if I would use edge coat, but it's less effort. So you need to go ahead and repeat that process for every single piece that you have. So wrong sides together, either glue or double-sided tape all of your pieces down, and this is why we do it at the beginning, so that it's got time to dry while we go ahead and sew the rest of the bag together. They're all of our bow pieces, so you can set those off to the side to dry. So you want your vinyl base piece. There's a measurement given in the pattern of how far up we need to fold over our long edges. What I've done is I've just marked 1 inch up from the bottom. I'm going to fold my bottom and my top long edges in to meet that mark. I'm going to glue that down, and that will give me the finished size that it is in the pattern. We don't need to worry about the ends, as we're only doing our long edges at this stage. This is a marine vinyl, so it's quite thick, so that's why I'm using quite a bit of glue. You can use double-sided tape, however, I know that mine will not stick with this type of vinyl. So what I'm going to do is just work on this other side. I'm going to do the exact same thing. Glue it, stick it up to that 1 inch line and clip it all down, and I'll be back when that's done. My base is finished and all of my pattern pieces that I've been working on so far are sitting off to the side to dry. Next, I'm going to go ahead and work on my double-sided handles. I have my 4 pieces here. I've already gone ahead, I've marked my line down the center and added double-sided tape. Next, what I'm going to do is fold both of my long edges in to meet the middle. Because these don't get folded over again, I do not need to worry about leaving a gap in the center, so these edges can come in together and touch in the middle. I'm really hoping that this vinyl likes double-sided tape, because if it lifts, it just is going to make the process a lot longer, and it means that I'm just going to have to clip it all, but we shall see. I'm just going to go ahead and finish sticking down all of these handles, and then I'll be back. So that's one done. I had a feeling that this was going to happen, and I was hoping it didn't, but it did. So what's happening is the double-sided tape isn't sticking to the vinyl, so it's lifting as I'm working on the others. So what I'm going to have to do is use a lot of clips and some more double-sided tape, and I'll have to work in small sections. What I'm going to have to do is, with the main grey vinyl, I'm going to have to stick it down as fast as I can, put double-sided tape on the back seam, quickly put the patterned vinyl wrong sides together, and then clip it together so that both of the seams in the middle do not lift, and then they can stick together, and then I can top stitch it. So I'm going to have to use a lot of clips and work quite fast. So what I'll do is I'll stick them all together. I'll be back when they're all stuck and behaving nicely and we're ready to top stitch. Okay, I'm back. I've finally gotten that done. We can go ahead and we can sew our handles. I'm going to top stitch it from the solid grey vinyl side. I'm just doing it 1/8 of an inch from the outside. and then down this side. Now this is normally where I'd go ahead and put the strap ends on. However, I don't know yet if I'm going to use those. That's now both of our handles done. We can pop these to the side. Next we can bring back all of our bow pieces. And all we want to do is we want to top stitch around the outside 1/8 of an inch with these pieces, because you will see the center of these. You want to start your top stitching on the edge, because these get folded over and you're not going to see these. So you want to start your top stitching here where you can back stitch. You won't see it. So I'm just doing it 1/8 of an inch from the outside edge. That one's done. Again, with the smaller bow, I'm going to start at the end because you're not going to see that. 1/8 of an inch. Sit that to the side. I'm going to start the top stitching on my band at the end, because this will be within the bag. You won't see the back stitching. You will see back stitching if you start it in the center. That's now our center piece done. Put that to the side. Next we want to do the tails. I'm going to start from the center because this is going to be covered up. Now bring all your pieces back, and this is where we're going to go ahead and you would edge coat if you're going to. I'm going to use the Sharpie just to colour in the edges. So if you want to edge coat, go ahead and do that now. But you do want to get in and get all the white bits that are going to be visible. You don't even have to worry about doing this if it doesn't bother you. What I'm doing with the Sharpie is so much quicker than doing edge coating, but you may like the look. You may love edge coating. I'm just a lot more precise with a Nico than I am with edge coat. And you do want to take your time because this is going to be a huge focal point of your bag. So take your time to do it as neat as you can. That's been done. The next thing I'm going to do is use the Mod Podge that I get from Bunnings, and I'm going to go ahead and seal all my pieces. Depending on the coverage, I usually only use one layer. I just want it to seal it. And I do have an edge roller, but for me, a paintbrush is so much easier. And this does dry clear. it does give it a shine, so that's good. And it soaks in pretty fast. I just want to make sure everything's coated. So that's all done. I can do this edge. And then I can set that to dry. And then I can do this. If I do feel that it needs another layer, I can go ahead when it's on the bag and add more if I need to. You just want an even coat. There we go. As you can see, it's already started to dry. So I can set that one off to the side to dry. And then when it's almost dry, I can turn it over and do the other side. Usually, once it's started to dry and you can see areas like this, I just turn it upside down, put the clips to the other side, making sure not to touch where I've already sealed, and then do the other side. So this is the last edge for this big piece that has to be done. And the other one that I did previously is completely dry, so we can move on to that one. What I can do is, while these are drying, is I can glue these together. You want your smaller one in the middle. It should line up here on the sides. I'm going to get some more glue. In the pattern, you don't actually glue this down. You just glue it or double-sided tape the edges and then have these two as separate. I'm actually going to glue the whole thing down. That's how I found it easiest when I was doing this last night on my other bow. I tried it the way that it had in the pattern, but for me, it was easier to do it this way. So I'm just going to line it up on both sides, and I want it centered. And I'm going to clip this together and I'm going to let this dry. I'm also going to use some super glue for this next part because this needs to get folded back and glued into place. What you could also do is, if you don't want to stick it down and you don't want them to be two separate pieces, so as you can see on the one that I did last night, mine are just all one piece, like these are not separated. If you wanted it the way that I've got it, what you could do is, instead of gluing it, you could go ahead and top stitch the smaller bow to the bigger one once you've got it centered. You would need to make sure that your smaller bow is edge coated before you went ahead and sewed it on, but you could do that if you wanted it stuck together and you didn't want to have to glue it. This one here is not completely dry, but it's dry enough that we can work with it. We need to glue these edges here together. Okay, I'm going to use super glue. So I'm just going to use a tiny bit of super glue here on this edge. And push these together, just like that. And already it's stuck. Now what we can do is get our tails, and we're going to line up this edge that we just glued down with the center, and we're going to glue this into place. I'm going to add more super glue there and stick that in the center and hold that until it dries, which is not going to take long at all. And do not stick it to your table. And that now is stuck to the table, but that'll come off. That's now glued on, so that's not going anywhere. So you can attempt to put some clips there just while it's drying. It is thick, very thick. Okay. Oh, wow. Can we go for another one? Yep, there we go. Just broke them all. There we go. Get the good old trusty metal ones out. There we go. get rid of all my broken clips. This is almost dry, so we can go ahead and finish our bow. So again, I'm going to put some super glue on this edge here, just a little bit, and join these two together. Just going to use a spare bit of vinyl so that I don't glue it to the table again. Okay, then we can get our bow back. This one's definitely dried. We can add more super glue there. And press this together. So this is what it looks like on the back. That is dry. Now what we need to do is add our centerpiece. Make sure that you've got it right sides out. This is going to go over the center of our bow. So we're going to add some more glue. I'm going to try super glue because I know that it sets straight away. So in the center, make sure your right side's out and centering that. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add more glue here, because I want this to stick. I do not want this to come undone. So I'm just going to do one side at a time, and I'm going to lift this up to the back and pull it tight. That's stuck for the most part. So now I can do the bottom one, and I'm pulling it tight together. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clip these two together so that they're the same length. So that now is glued into place. I'm going to come in the back here, and I'm going to put some more glue down the back here, and I'm going to push these together as tight as I can so that these stick down. Okay, there we go. So that now is all glued on. Now what we want are our main exterior panels, and you want your pattern piece. You also want your handles. We're going to start with one pattern piece here. This is the front. It's going to show us on the pattern piece where we put the slit for the bow and where we put our handles. So I'm just going to attach this so it doesn't move. I cut these out earlier. These are our strap placement. I'm just going to use a removable pen, and I'm just going to mark just the bottom and a tiny little bit up the sides, just a tiny bit. I'm also going to go ahead and mark where we cut the slit for our bow. So the first thing that I want to do is cut this. I'm going to cut it a little bit smaller than that cutout because I don't want it too big. I'm just going to stop just before I get to the edge, and then I can get rid of that marking. What you also want to do when you put strap ends on is make sure that they're underneath the holes that have been drilled for your screws, because you do not want that rubbing on your bag. You could also go ahead and add a second line of stitching just to secure this further to your bag, and then put a rivet in. So you could do like an inch box stitch. I'm going to add 2 Chicago screws to further secure this. So I'm just going to line this up, and this gets repeated on the back, exactly the same placement, exactly the same steps. The only difference is there's no bow in the center. You could add a slip pocket in the center for your phone so that you do have something on the back if you wanted to, or you can just have it like this. I'm just going to use my template from Brymax. I think that'll be fine. So I can go ahead and punch those. I think I'm going to go ahead and put these on first before I go ahead and put my nameplate and the bow in. They're looking great. I'm going to move on to my base piece. So what you're going to need are both of your exterior panels and your base, which is the piece that we stuck down earlier. And what we need to do is we need to stick this down along this here. Now this here, it says, should not exceed these edges here. So I'm going to just fold it in half and find the center. So now what we need to do is I'm going to run some double-sided tape along here, keeping in mind that I'm probably going to be sewing through this. So I might use 1/4 inch double-sided tape along the bottom here. I'm going to remove this here. So what I'm doing is I'm lining this edge here up right there. So there should be around about a 1/2 inch overlay. So once I stick that down, when you turn it over, as you can see, it's stuck down here and the bottom is lining up with the edge that we folded over. So do one side at a time, and this will also help me work out where I'm going to put the tag, if I'm going to put the tag in there. I'm going to sew this at 1/8 inch on the base. And you want to repeat that for the other side. So bring your other piece in, remove the backing off your double-sided tape, and we're sticking this down. Again, we're lining up that edge with that overlay. And stick it down. Bring it over and check again that this here is lining up. Mine is. So now I get to top stitch this side. 1/8 inch. So that now is what we have. Then we can get our main panel, and so we're going to put these through this slit that we made earlier. We're feeding it through there. Get them through and pull them. Okay, you want to make sure that your bow is centered and you're happy with it, and then pulling these tight, we need to go ahead and separate these, and these get glued down. So you're going to push them out like that and glue them down. So again, make sure you're happy with the placement. What I'm going to do first is clip these together so they can't move. Make sure that I'm happy, and I'm actually going to come in underneath here and put some super glue underneath here so it cannot move. Now you could put a stitch in there if you want to hand stitch it. I don't. But you need to be very careful with this super glue that it doesn't run, or it could take off your vinyl. So just going to put some in there, and I'm going to press it down so it sticks into place. And that just stuck to my hand. So that should now be stuck, because this does stick quite quickly. That's stuck. And now I can do the top. I can pull this. I'm going to come in here where this is here, and that's where I'm going to put a drop of glue right there, and I'm going to pull it so that it sticks, and hold it flat so that it sticks. So that now is stuck in there. So now what I can do is turn it over, and I can flatten these out, and I'm going to use quite a bit of glue. So I'm going to put it down here, and I'm going to flatten out this, okay, and stick that down. and do the same to the bottom. So I don't want to put it on the actual tab part because I don't want it to fall through that hole and potentially leak out the front. Push this all the way down. And I can come in and add more if I need to, but I want that completely flat. I will come in with tape as well and put tape over the top to further secure it. You can never use too much tape. Look at that. Isn't that adorable? I love it. I've gone ahead and I've installed the handmade tag. I just did it down the corner, 1/2 inch above this. Now we're going to put these right sides together, matching up our sides, and we're going to clip these together. These get sewn with the seam allowance given in the pattern. Repeat for the other side. Then we're going to box the bottom. We're going to fold these seams out. We're going to pull the base together, just like that. Oh, look at how beautiful that went. We're going to clip this together and we're going to sew this with the seam allowance given in the pattern. So again, fold your seams out, pull your base together with the side panels, and look at how beautiful that goes, and clip it together. Oh, how many clips am I going to break? Seam allowance is in the pattern, so you just want to lay that flat. That's what it looks like. So repeat for this side. Oh, this is so gorgeous. What I'm going to do while I'm here is I'm just going to push out these seams here and glue these down. So I'm just pushing those open and I'm going to glue these down. That way they're going to sit flatter when it comes time for us to do the final steps. So same for this side. Push open these seams flat and clip them. You can use double-sided tape and put that to the side for now. Oh, look at that. Next, we're going to move on to our lining. I'm going to start with my zipper pocket. I am doing it different to what is in the pattern. This is just the way that I do these, and because I am using an overlay, I'm going to take one of my lining pieces right side up, my zipper tape right side up, and I'm going to base that on. I've also got extra zipper tape hanging off this edge, and that's for when I go to sew it onto the lining. I'm just going to base this with an 1/8 inch seam allowance. And I'm going to repeat for the other side. I'm going to flip up this raw edge of the zipper tape that's not attached to anything, and I'm getting my other lining piece right side up and right side up. And I'm going to clip this into place and then base this together. Basting at 1/8 inch. Then what you do is flip this out, and these seams that I just folded down, I'm going to push back and I'm going to top stitch these down. You can try double-sided tape, however, because my lining is so thick, it's not going to stick. So I'm just going to top stitch this down. There's one side done. So I'm looking at the right side of my zipper tape, but the wrong side of my lining. That's correct. And then this one, I'm just going to fold back on itself and top stitch it. And this is going to hold it down out of the way. The right side of my pocket, I'm looking at the wrong side of my zipper tape. I'm going to run 1/8 inch wide double-sided tape along the edge that I just folded down. Along here. and along here. Then I can put my zipper pull on, and I'm going to leave it right off to the left, and I'm going to sit this to the side. One of my lining pieces, I'm going to go ahead and find the center. I've already clipped it. I'm just going to fold it in half. I want my overlay. I've added double-sided tape to the back part of this already. I'm going to go ahead and find my center. This is a heat erasing pen, and I think I'll place it 1 inch down. My overlay, I'm going to fold it in half to find the center. Remove the backing off one piece of your double-sided tape. You can leave your ruler there if you want, or you can just draw a line, or both. Line it up in the center and press that into place, and readjust it if you need to. Then when you're happy that that's where it needs to be, you can remove the bottom piece and let that fall into place. What I'm also going to do is take a woven label and pop that just under here, and I'll sew that in. I'm going to sew 1/8 of an inch from the outside edge. I'm going to leave long tails and pull my threads through rather than back stitching. 1/8 of an inch. But before I come back to here, I'm going to pull my threads through. I'm going to hold on to them so I know what ones belong to what. And cut those off. Turn this over and pull these threads to the back, and then I can tie them all off. I'm going to seal these and push those down. I'm going to fold this in half, come back in here, snip in the center, and I'm going to cut this away. I'm going to cut the inside of this overlay away. Come to the back and just trim this away without cutting that overlay. Be very careful. It does not need to be pretty, no one ever sees it, but you just need to make sure that you cut enough so that when you turn it over you cannot see any of that lining fabric through that box. Then I'm going to get my zipper pocket. I'm going to line this up in the center, turn it over and make sure that my pocket is within that box that we just sewed. It's there in the center. What I'm going to do is remove the backing off the bottom piece of the double-sided tape. My pocket is laying flat. That's the bottom and that's the top. So you want it laying flat. And I'm going to put this into the position that I want it in. I'm going to stick it down. I'm just doing the bottom at the moment. Then when I'm happy that that's where I want it, I can remove the backing off the top piece of the double-sided tape and stick the top bit down. If you're not happy with any of the placement, just lift up your pocket and reposition it. My zipper is out of the box, it's over here. I'll pull it back through when I get to here. Leaving long tails, 1/8 of an inch now from that inside edge. Now I'm here, what I'm going to do is lift this up and pull my zipper back through. Until I get it clear. I'm going to do the tape back up to try and align the teeth together the best I can. I'm going to hold that together under here. I'm trying to hold the zipper teeth together under this piece. And I'm going to come over here start here. Now I can close my zipper now that I'm past my zipper pull. Now what I am going to do, I'm going to pull these through so I can tie these off, and you shouldn't be able to see where I started and where I stopped technically. I'm going to hold on to those and I'm going to continue. And we're done. I've still got hold of these two, so now I can pull this one through and tie them all off. You can use glue to seal this if you want. And then that now is your zipper pocket. I'm going to push both sides down together. There is going to be extra at the bottom here, that is correct. I'm going to trim this part here off. And then I'm going to seal up my whole pocket. We do not need to leave this open. I'm going to trim off my excess zipper tape, but what I will do is, because I have cut that zipper tape, I will come in with my lighter and seal the ends, because you do not want those fraying. Okay, I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to pull in this side here and I'm going to stitch this together. The seam allowance for this is in the pattern, and I'm going over my zipper tape twice and then flipping the bottom up and sewing the bottom. The bigger seam allowance, the smaller the pocket. Then what I'm going to do is fold in this side here and sew this up. Again, over that zipper tape twice. And then that's it. So now our zipper pocket is complete. Looks fantastic. You can come along and trim down the seam allowance if you really want to. If you're worried about bulk, I'm not, but we can trim it anyway. But I'm not going to trim the zipper tape. Now we can move on to our slip pocket. You want both of your slip pocket pieces, right sides together. We're sewing this with the seam allowance given in the pattern. This is different to what we've been using, so just keep that in mind. And I'm only sewing 3 sides. I'm going to leave the top open because that's where our trim piece is going to be. You want to trim down these corners here so we get a nice seam when we turn it. And we're going to turn this right sides out. Fold out these seams the best you can, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to baste the top edge with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And then we're going to add our trim. I've got my trim piece here. And what I'm going to do is make a mark at 3/4 of an inch from the bottom. And I'm going to rule a line. Then what I'm going to do is put a piece of double-sided tape just underneath that line that I just drew. And I'm going to remove the tape. I'm going to put the raw edge just underneath that line that we just drew. I'm going to get another piece of double-sided tape, but I'm going to use an 1/8 inch on the top. I'm going to remove the backing from that. Okay, and then I'm going to fold it over and I'm going to clip it. And there's going to be a bigger seam at the back. That is what I want, because that way I'm guaranteed to sew the back down when I top stitch this front piece. This is also a good place as well to put a woven label. This was handmade by me using a ton of passion, money and time. You better love it or else. Let's do that one. These I got from Mare's. So stick that down, clip it into place, and I'm going to do 2 rows of top stitching. I'm going to do 1/8 of an inch from this bottom edge and then 1/8 of an inch from the top edge, and then I can cut the overhang. 1/8 of an inch. Okay, there's my first one. You can trim this down. And 1/8 of an inch from this bottom edge. And then that is our slip pocket done. Now, it's up to you whether or not you want to come and trim the back. No one's going to notice that the back is longer, but you can just come in and trim that down if you want to. And then we want our other lining panel. You want to find the center, and there's a measurement given in the pattern of how far down this goes. So you want to find the center of this as well. I'm not going to separate this, I'm going to leave it as one slip pocket. And I'm going to line that up there. You can either hold it in place. If you have hemming clips, these also work brilliantly because obviously they're bigger than normal clips and they tend to come in and hold it in place. It's going to be less likely to move if you've used these clips. Then what we're going to do, we're going to top stitch the side along the bottom and back up this side. Make sure you back stitch well at the beginning and the end because these are going to be stress points. And reinforcing that, and we're done with that. Now we have a slip pocket. Then you want your base, you want one of your linings, find the center of your base. I'm going to place my base on the bottom, right sides together, and we're going to sew this with the seam allowance given in the pattern. Opening that out, it doesn't say to top stitch. And then you want your other panel, right sides together with that base. We're going to sew that with the seam allowance given in the pattern. If you are worried about bulk, you can come in and trim down this. Mine's going to be fine, I'm not worried about it. We're going to put this to the side. We want our main zipper tape. We need to do the 90-degree turn at the end. Going to mark 1 inch from the end. I'm going to separate the zipper. I'm going to pinch that line that I just made, and I'm going to push the zipper teeth to the right, and that line that I just made is going to sit directly underneath the zipper teeth. And then I'm going to use a pin to hold this in place until I can baste it. So as you can see, this line here is directly underneath these teeth here. So you want to do the same thing on this side. Where that line is, you want to squeeze it, make a fold, use this finger and push these zipper teeth out to the left, and that line will sit directly underneath those zipper teeth. And then we're going to put a pin in that so that we can baste it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew these edges here that we folded down. I'm going to sew those flat at 1/8 of an inch from that zipper tape edge. That is going to create our 90-degree turn. And then we need to do the other side. So they're now basted in place, they're not going to move. But I do need to come and trim the overhang. So I'm going to trim these sides so that they're even. And like with any zipper tape, anytime you trim it, I'm going to seal the edges, because I do not want this to fray. That's now our 90-degree turn done. Next, what we want is our lining. We're working on the side that's got our slip pocket. There's a measurement given in the pattern of where we need to make a mark. We're going to lay our zipper right side up on right side up, and we're going to start it at that mark that we just made. The zipper teeth are going to start at that mark. I'm going to clip this into place. I've never ever done a zipper like this that does not have a lining top, like a contrast band, so it's going to be very interesting. We need to measure that mark on both sides of our lining. What you can also do is transfer that mark to your zipper tape so that you know when to stop sewing. There's my line right there. So I'm going to transfer that to my zipper tape, and I know that that's where I need to stop sewing. So you're going to sew from this mark to this mark here, and we're going to do that with the seam allowance given in the pattern. Now I'm coming up to that mark, and I've stopped sewing, and you want to do that on both sides. What I'm going to do before I separate my zipper is I'm going to turn it over, and at the back here I'm going to place a line. It's just got to be a straight line, doesn't matter the seam, just mark a straight line, and that's going to help us line up the two sides when we put our zipper end on. Now what we need to do is we need to separate our zipper tape just like that, and we're going to repeat on our zipper side. Now you want to make sure that your zipper pocket is down out of the way, and this time we are going to start at this end, so it's got to be opposite so that when it's in your bag it's the correct way. So make that mark on both sides, and we're going to do the same thing. Right side's up, so this time our zipper teeth are off to the right. Clip that together, and then when I get down to the mark on the other end, I can go ahead and I can transfer it to the zipper tape, and I know that that's where I stop. That mark is right there, so I know don't sew beyond that. I'm going to start at that mark, and I'm going to start my basting from there. Again, make sure that your zipper pocket is down out of the way, and we're basting this on with a seam allowance in the pattern. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold in this zipper tape and clip it to the top. That way we're not going to sew it into our seams. Now what we need to do is place these right sides together and sew it with the seam allowance given in the pattern. This seam allowance is different to what we've been using, and what we are going to do is start at one seam allowance, and about an inch from the top we're going to increase it. So it's essentially going to go like that. So we start at this one and increase it to this one, and it's going to be the same on this side. Right sides together. So starting off with the smaller one and then increasing to the bigger seam allowance. And this is so that it fits snug within the bag. I'm doing it upside down now. I'm going to start at the bigger seam allowance and then come up to the smaller one. And then we've got to box the bottom. Pulling these, folding this out, and getting the side of our base fits beautifully out like that. Folding our seams out, and we're going to sew this with the bigger seam allowance. So again, pull your base up and push out your sides, and we're pulling these together. As you can see, it fits perfect. I'm going to clip these so with the bigger seam allowance. There's one side done, and same with this side. And then that is our lining. Oh, looks fantastic. I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to glue these open. And remember, we have to put our bridge connectors in. Now we're on to the final assembly. What we need to do is we need to get our base and our lining. And I love this part. She did this on her last pattern too. What we're going to do is we're going to put these two seams together here. So line up the centers and clip these together on both sides. So you want to line up your centers and clip these together. And we do this so that our lining doesn't pull in our bag. And I love this idea. And we're going to sew these together with the seam allowance given in the pattern. You are going to have to squish everything, but it is completely doable. And the other side. Push your lining out of the way. We're sewing this with the seam allowance given in the pattern. Then what we want to do is we want to turn these right sides out. So turning this right sides out is going to put your lining on the inside. And I hope I sewed it correctly. And by that I mean with the zipper closing to the left. I hope I did. Oh, I did do it correct. Did I? Yes. Oh, wow. You want to push all this out. Oh, this is adorable. Push all your corners out. Do your exterior first. Push all your corners out. And then push your lining down. Oh, that fits perfect. So this is what it's looking like. What we need to do is from the back panel, there's a measurement that we need to mark. So use a removable pen. We're going to need our bridge connectors for these. It says that we put our bridge connectors on the back panel. I think I might want mine in between. I think if you put it on the back here, when you've got your crossbody on, I don't want it to tip forward. So I think I might put mine across this way, just because of the connector that I'm using. It's not the same one that's used in the pattern. There's a measurement given in the pattern, so I'm going to go down what it says in the pattern and make a mark. I've got to work out where the screws go. What I might try and do is mark these here, like colour these in white, these screw holes, just like that. This is a removable pen, and then trying not to touch myself with it. Go in the middle, push. Oh, it gave me those. So that there is where I want to put my screws, right there. So I'll do the same thing from this side. I need to punch these holes. It does say to stabilize these. So I'm going to use Decaville Heavy. I'm only going through my exterior, not my lining. Never used these bridge connectors before. We're going to put the screw, the Decaville, and then the washer. Hopefully, look at that, straight through. Fantastic. And I can put this through the front. Line that up and screw these on. They went in perfect. Look at that. I then will put some tape there to further secure those. Okay, that's done. Now the same for this side. They were the easiest things to put in. This is just adorable. Now we need our binding, which is our last piece. I've already marked the center and I've added double-sided tape. I'm going to do this differently to what's in the pattern. So in the pattern, what we do is we then go ahead and we bind it. I'm going to base mine first. So I'm going to start at the center back and I'm going to start clipping these together. I think it's going to be a lot easier to base these together first than it is to hope that when it comes to putting the binding on that we're getting all the layers. So I'm just going to baste it first and then go ahead and bind it. Now when I do baste this on, I will only be basting this together with an 1/8 inch seam allowance. No more than that. 1/8 of an inch basting. Just make sure everything's down out of your way. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come around and look at it and see if I missed anywhere. Just one place just here where that connector is. Doesn't have to look pretty because we're going to cover this up. So that's all basted together. Now we've got to go ahead and put on this. We need to start at the back. I've already gone ahead and I've marked my center. I'm going to fold it in half to find the center. And what you need to do is you need to start wrapping this around the top of your bag and clipping this into place. I think I'm going to use my heavy duty clips actually. So you want to wrap that around. Just putting some clips here just to see if it'll help find that center. I did have to stretch my vinyl just a tiny little bit to get it to fit, but that's on there. I'm absolutely terrified of this next step. It says that if you're top stitching on a flatbed, which I am, to turn it inside out. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to shove everything down in there. And we are going to start at the back. Now it does say to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch. What I'm going to do is top stitch at 1/8, see what it looks like, and then maybe do a second row at 1/4, just to see what that looks like. 1/8 might be enough, but I am worried that if we do it at 1/8, we're going to see the top stitching of our zipper. We probably won't because it'll flip up, but we'll see. Starting at the back, I'm not going to start where the two meet. I'm going to start here, 1/8 of an inch. Okay, this is where the two meet. I'm going to use my stiletto to hold it until I get to this side. Just flatten it out as you go around. Okay, that's completely come off. So I need to come back from here. Oh, it's done it again. This is frustrating. It's just not wanting to play nice and sit there. It's just frustrating. I mean, I probably should have done this in the first place rather than relying on double-sided tape, but I was hopeful. Now it's come back to bite me. Let's try this now. Hopefully it'll stay put. I'm going to try and push my finger there to hold it. Yeah, it's pulling off again. I was so close to being done. I'm determined to get this finished. I'm going to try and hold the screwdriver here so it doesn't bounce back off. I'm going to do another round at 1/4 of an inch. And this is where I started to run into problems last time. I think holding the screwdriver there helped lay everything flat, but I think we still need a second row of top stitching. Just make sure that your zipper is not creeping up. See that? No. That's it, we're done. I'm gonna have to do this again because it's just not, it's just falling off. Maybe gluing it would help. This is the side that I've previously not had to glue, but it's just pulling off. Obviously this bag will not be sold because I've had to go over this so many times. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue this and I'm going to leave it and then sew it tomorrow. The rest of it looks fine and it's a beautiful bag. Like, I love the design. It's just this is not working. Alright, I'll be back when it's time to put the zipper pull on and finish it. Let's go ahead and finish off our bag. So all we need to do is put the zipper pull on and then put our zipper end on and then it's all finished. So I'm going to go ahead and put my zipper pull on. Make sure that it is even. Otherwise you'll get to the end and it won't close up evenly. Zipper pull is now on. As you can see, closes up perfectly at the end there. It changes the shape completely of the bag once the zipper pulls on. Look at that. Huh, so cute. We've got to go ahead and put our zipper end on. You can decide if you want to go ahead and trim down your zipper. I might trim mine down just a little bit. I don't think it really needs to be that long. Once you trim your zipper, go ahead and heat the edges so that it doesn't fray, or it's got less chance of fraying. I'm just going to fold the back in on these. I'm actually going to glue this for a minute and glue myself in the process. I'm just going to slip that on, push it as far as I can, and then what I want to do is I want to come in here at the back and I want to go ahead and pre-punch this. It's just going to help when I put this screw in. You want to make sure that it's underneath that pre-drilled hole there, because otherwise it's going to rub on your bag. And that's it. Our bag is now complete. Look at this adorable bag. I love this. We've got our bow on the front. You could also use a magnet. One of the testers did that and you could interchange this. The back. You could put a zipper pocket on here if you wanted. And that's the base. I love the base of this bag. And then we've got the top. And the inside. I love the inside of this bag. Look at how cute this zipper pocket is. Zipper pocket, love it. I love the structure. We've got this big slip pocket at the back, which is quite a good size. And then this is the inside of the bag. I love it. The top is the only part that I struggled with. It actually has taken me quite a bit to be able to come back and finish it because I just had other stuff going on. But I do know that the tester has taken all of the feedback on that people provided her, and there is going to be a new way that the zipper is done. I believe what's happened is it's been dropped a little bit and then this has been extended. That will be in the final pattern. This bag is just so stinking cute. And then we've got our side connectors for our crossbody strap. I mean, this is the perfect going out bag for lunch. Somewhere where you need to take the essentials, not a lot of stuff, but it's a good size. There it is. There's our crossbody strap, all attached. I love the double-sided handles. I love it. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you found this helpful and I'll catch you all soon. Bye.